Chapter 61, Snow-Colored Swan Kiss. Snow-Colored Swan Kiss? Ling Yuan echoed the name, a shadow of doubt in her eyes. Yes, that's the snow-colored swan kiss. Ye Shi withdrew the small object from her storage bracelet and wrapped it in her spirit power. The snow-colored swan kiss itself isn't poisonous, she said, but its property is that it multiplies any poison or virus by hundreds or even thousands of times. If I combine it with these highly toxic herbs I bought, it should be able to threaten a titled Douluo. She tossed the snow-colored swan kiss to Ling Yuan. Ling Yuan caught it and immediately surrounded it with her spirit power. Young miss, if that's true, it could be a serious threat to a titled Douluo, she replied. Her voice carried uncertainty. No one she knew had ever heard of a titled Douluo being poisoned to death, but she was almost certain that anyone below that rank who touched a tempering like this would be killed. Ye Shi didn't answer. She fetched the pot she had bought and dumped all the highly poisonous herbs into it. The liquid in the pot slowly turned emerald green, and green bubbles rose to the surface. When she judged the timing right, she dropped the rice-sized rutile crystals into the brew and began the tempering process. Ling Yuan, put the snow-colored swan kiss in too, she instructed. Ling Yuan complied. She controlled the swan kiss with her spirit power and let it fall into the pot, then formed a barrier in front of herself to guard against any splashes. The moment the swan kiss touched the brew, the emerald liquid shifted toward purple. The crystals drank at it, their golden gleam fading to dark purple as the mixture was absorbed. Time passed. When the liquid was entirely taken in, Ye Shi smiled. Mission accomplished. Ling Yuan, pack these crystals away. Let's go to the Stardew Great Forest and test their strength. While we're there, I want to talk with the two kings of the forest. The two kings? Ling Yuan's surprise was plain, but she didn't press further. She stored the tempered rutile crystals and followed Ye Shi. The two recognized kings of the Stardew Great Forest were the Titan Giant Ape and the Sky Azure Bull Python. With Ling Yuan's current strength, escorting Ye Shi safely into and out of the forest's core area wasn't a problem. Don't worry, Ling Yuan said after a moment's thought, confidence steady in her voice. If the two kings attack without warning, I'll take you away immediately. Ye Shi's smile deepened. As long as there's something to talk about, it's unlikely they'll fight. Evening had fallen when they reached the Stardew Great Forest. They moved straight into the core area, Ling Yuan keeping her mental force active to scout and guard against surprises. At the life lake, a colossal Titan Giant Ape sat facing the water. Its body was jet black, and its yellow crystalline eyes stared blankly ahead. From the lake's surface, the Sky Azure Bull Python, a vast spirit beast with a bull's head and a snake's body, rose, its lantern-sized eyes fixed on the ape. Are you thinking about Xiao Wu again? The python's deep voice carried across the water. The Titan Giant Ape answered with a low roar. Xiao Wu said she'd come back to visit often. Both beasts turned their attention as Ye Shi and Ling Yuan stepped into view. The ape's roar rolled outward like a shockwave. Humans, this is not a place for you. The python's gaze slid past Ye Shi and settled on Ling Yuan. Ye Shi stepped forward, calm and deliberate. We mean no harm, she said. 3 sentences. We will speak 3 sentences, then leave. Ling Yuan took a position in front of Ye Shi, ready to spirit transport her away at the first sign of violence. The Sky Azure Bull Python listened in silence. The Titan Giant Ape regarded Ye Shi curiously. We encountered a 100,000-year transformed spirit beast outside, Ye Shi said plainly. Her name is Xiao Wu, and she is very close to a human. That human's father is a titled Douluo, and he's been secretly watching them. Having spoken, Ye Shi snapped her fingers and began to turn away. The Titan Giant Ape's roar warned against the departure. Its gaze shifted to the python, which was already studying Ye Shi with a racing mind. You didn't come all this way just to say those 3 sentences, the python said. State your true intentions. Ye Shi stopped and faced the Sky Azure Bull Python. A faint smile curved her lips. Our intention is to discuss that transformed spirit beast outside, she replied, her voice even as her azure eyes met the python's. Do you think we have nothing to discuss? Chapter 62. You guessed this yourself. Ye Shi's eyes were the color of clear sky. The Sky Azure Bull Python considered her for only a moment before making his decision. All right. First, tell me everything you know, Ye Shi said. As she spoke, she glanced at the Titan giant ape, a subtle signal not to act rashly. I'll tell you everything I know. In return, you and the Titan giant ape will each owe me a favor. If I call on you, you will help me once. Ye Shi settled herself casually, voice cool and measured. Okay, as long as what you say is true. The Sky Azure Bull Python agreed without hesitation. Not long ago, I saw that transformed 100,000-year spirit beast, Xiao Wu, in Soto City. He nodded toward Ling Yuan, who stood beside Ye Shi. She was with a boy of about the same age. They behaved very intimately. At the time, I didn't recognize her as a transformed spirit beast. It was the titled Douluo with me who identified her. He kept speaking while Ye Shi pointed subtly at Ling Yuan. The python listened without interrupting, his enormous eyes shifting through contemplation, gloom, anger, and a deep, hidden jealousy. The Titan giant ape beside him showed open rage, jealousy flickering in his face. You mean that human deliberately got close to Xiao Wu to connive with his father and seize her spirit ring and spirit bone? I don't know, the Sky Azure Bull Python replied, tone edged with anger. I've said everything I know. Personally, I think they may truly care for each other. It's been so long. If they intended to take her spirit ring and spirit bone, they would have acted already. Ye Shi kept her expression neutral, neither confirming nor denying, deliberately fanning the flames. She'd never claimed Tang San intended to steal Xiao Wu's spirit ring or spirit bone outright, only shared parts of his background and her own inferences. What the Sky Azure Bull Python and Titan Giant Ape decided to believe was up to them. From any normal spirit beast's perspective, a titled Douluo secretly tailing a transformed spirit beast couldn't be for anything good. How could the son of a titled Douluo not know there was a transformed spirit beast nearby? Impossible. Absolutely impossible, the Sky Azure Bull Python said, his voice like frozen ether. Even if it's love, what that human loves is young Miss Xiao Wu's spirit ring and spirit bone. Humans are despicable and shameless. The Titan giant ape roared, a thunderous sound that rolled through the Stardew Great Forest and startled the birds from the trees. As the python considered Ye Shi's words, his gaze hardened further. I understand now. If what you say is true, we accept your conditions. Leave now, he added coldly. All right, we'll go for now. The Titan giant ape rose and the two turned to leave. Ye Shi stood and led Ling Yuan away from the Life Lake area. Once they were out of earshot, the Sky Azure Bull Python turned back to the Titan giant ape. If she's right, young Miss Xiao Wu is in danger in the human world, he said. My guess is that the titled Douluo learned of her identity and had his son get close to her so that when he could absorb 100,000-year spirit ring, he would move to seize her ring and spirit bone. He might even try to take her body first and then take the ring and spirit bone, the python added. The Titan giant ape sprang to his feet as if to rush off immediately. The Sky Azure Bull Python stopped him with a cold, level voice. Do not act in haste. When young Miss Xiao Wu returns, we will watch for humans around her. If there are other humans nearby, slap one of them. If a titled Douluo is secretly watching, he will reveal himself. If we find him, he will not be allowed to leave the Stardew Great Forest. If we find no one, we will question young Miss Xiao Wu and verify the truth. Rising from the Life Lake, the python fixed his gaze on the forest, his enormous eyes burning with killing intent. The Titan giant ape, silent, nodded in agreement. After a long moment, the python submerged again, leaving the ape by the lake. Meanwhile, deeper in the Stardew Great Forest, Ye Shi and Ling Yuan moved quickly through the undergrowth. There's a 10,000-year sky-winged horse up ahead, Ye Shi said, pointing. Try using your poisoned hairpins on it and see how the poison works. All right, Miss Ye. Ling Yuan produced a poisoned hairpin, aimed carefully, and threw. The pin struck true and embedded in the sky-winged horse. The beast cried out and collapsed as the poison spread. In a few breaths, its head drooped and a 10,000-year spirit ring drifted from its body. Hiss, Ye Shi murmured, impressed. The lethality is very good. Ling Yuan nodded, serious. Yes, it's excellent. Chapter 63, An Unexpected Encounter with Ning Rongrong in the Dead of Night. Ye Shi tore her gaze away from the heavenly winged horse and smiled, stepping forward. Let's head back to Soto City, she said. At this hour we should return and rest, Ling Yuan replied, then followed quickly. They moved through the Douluo Great Forest with practiced ease. Any spirit beasts that tried to ambush them were easily dealt with by Ling Yuan. Before long, they left the forest's edge and made for Soto City. The streets were quiet in the late hour. Yeshi walked with a faint smile, watching the star-strewn sky. Little Tang San should like the gift I left in the forest, she thought as they made their way toward the hotel. She was confident that the next time Xiao Wu came to the Douluo Great Forest with others, the Sky Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape would test them. How they tested them could be guessed, nothing elaborate. If Tang Hao intervened, he would face the enraged python and ape. Even if he didn't, surprises might still await. In any scenario Yeshi could foresee, she herself would lose nothing. At the hotel entrance, she paused when a familiar figure emerged. "Why are you here?" Ning Rongrong asked, her expression sour. Ning Rongrong had left a bad impression when they first met at the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School, and every encounter since had been edged with hostility. "I'm here to rest," Yeshi said coolly. "What else would I be doing?" Ning Rongrong scowled but followed Yeshi into the hotel. Inside, Xinian came forward with a bow. "Pavilion Master, you've returned." Xinian inclined his head to Yeshi and to Ling Yuan at her side, conspicuously ignoring Ning Rongrong. "Are the rooms all set?" Yeshi raised a hand to dismiss him. "They're booked. To prevent any disturbance to your rest, I took the liberty of reserving the entire hotel," Xinian said earnestly. "You were only meant to book the 3 best rooms," Yeshi reprimanded. "Don't do that again. If the young miss of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School wishes to stay here, we can prepare a superior room," Xinian offered. "No need," Ning Rongrong cut in. "There are plenty of places in Soto City." She shot one last angry look at Yeshi and left the hotel. As she walked away, she called back. "The Shrek 7 Devils are about to regroup. I'm curious how far you'll go without immortal herbs." Yeshi paused, the comment lingering in her mind, then continued upstairs. On the 3rd floor, she picked a room and went in. Ling Yuan took the room next door. Yeshi drew a hot bath, then lay on the soft bed and drifted into sleep. Morning light filtered through the curtains and woke her. She rose, washed, and stepped into the hallway just as Ling Yuan's door opened, and he fell in step behind her. "Pavilion Master, Xinian has prepared breakfast downstairs," he said quietly. "Then let's go," Yeshi answered. The hotel's ground floor housed a small dining area where a simple breakfast had been laid out. Xinian bowed as they entered. "No need for formalities. Please sit." Yeshi waved him off and took a seat, eating slowly and gracefully. Between bites, she gave instructions. After breakfast, go to the families of Dragon Duke Mengshu and Snake Matron Chao Tianxiang. Invite them to join Frost Snow Pavilion. If they agree, offer Dragon Duke the position of Hallmaster with the same status as the other 3 Hallmasters. If they have other demands, report back to me. I will discuss them personally with Dragon Duke and Snake Matron when I have the time. "Yes, Pavilion Master," Xinian replied, and set off after finishing his own meal. Ling Yuan ate quietly beside Yeshi, saying little. Once Xinian departed, Yeshi turned toward her room. "Back to the room to cultivate. Let's wait for Xinian's news," she told Ling Yuan. She sat cross-legged on the bed and entered meditation. Her spirit power sat at 44. She had already brushed the threshold of 45 and was only 1 step away from breaking through. Chapter 64. Dragon Duke and Snake Dowager Xinian arrived at the family with a calling card from Frost Snow Pavilion and waited at the gate. Inside, the Snake Dowager, Chao Tianxiang, noticed the card and frowned. "Old man, Frost Snow Pavilion is all the way in Heaven Do City. Why would they send someone just to leave a calling card?" She handed the card to the Dragon Duke, Mengshu. Mengshu studied the emblem carefully. "Bring him in," he said after a moment. "Frost Snow Pavilion is new, but its strength already rivals the upper 3 sects." Chao Tianxiang continued. "We shouldn't offend them if we can avoid it." Mengshu set the card on the table and remained seated in the main chair. If Yeshi herself had come, as clan chief, he would have risen to greet her, but this was only an attendant. "All right, I'll go," Chao Tianxiang said, rising and moving toward the main gate. She opened the gate and walked directly to where Xinian waited. "My apologies for keeping you waiting, esteemed spirit saint," she said with a polite bow. "No trouble at all," Xinian replied, returning the courtesy and following her into the estate. He observed the family as they walked to the main hall, then took a seat opposite Meng Shu. Meng Shu's eyes lingered on him, measuring. Spirit Saint Xinian, you represent Frost Snow Pavilion. What is the purpose of your visit? Meng Shu asked, lifting his teacup. Xinian inclined his head. Clan Chief Meng, I come by order of our pavilion master. We wish to invite your family to join Frost Snow Pavilion. He set the proposal plainly. Our pavilion currently has 3 hallmasters. If you agree to join, Clan Chief Meng would become our 4th hallmaster, enjoying the same status and treatment as the others. If you have any conditions, I will report them to the pavilion master. He smiled, took a sip of tea, and waited. Meng Shu and Chao Tianxiang exchanged a look and fell into silence while they considered the offer. After a while, Meng Shu cleared his throat. Spirit Saint Xinian, this is an important matter. We must consider it carefully. Once we have decided, we will give your pavilion master our answer. His response neither accepted nor refused the invitation. Xinian bowed. I will return and report to our pavilion master, he said, then rose to leave. This time, Meng Shu remained silent, and it was Chao Tianxiang who stood. I will see you out, she said, and escorted Xinian to the gate. Meng Shu watched them go, his expression thoughtful as his gaze kept returning to the calling card on the table. When Chao Tianxiang came back and sat, she asked, Old man, what are you thinking about? Meng Shu sighed. Frost Snow Pavilion has tremendous potential. It's only 3 years old and can already rival the upper 3 sects. Its pavilion master is also very capable, and most surprisingly, only 12 years old. Chao Tianxiang considered that for a moment. Then shall we join them? Meng Shu paused, then shook his head. Let's wait and see. For now, do not accept their invitation. He rose with his hands clasped behind his back and left the main hall. Chao Tianxiang followed without comment. Back in the hotel, Xinian went straight to Yexi's door. Ling Yuan stood in the entrance. Xinian bowed respectfully. Senior, is the pavilion master available? I've come from the Dragon Duke and Snake Dowager's family to report Clan Chief Meng Shu's reply to the pavilion master, Xinian said earnestly. She's cultivating, Ling Yuan replied. Tell me first. If it's important, I will notify her. Xinian recounted everything Meng Shu had said. I understand. I will tell the young miss as soon as she finishes, Ling Yuan said, waving him away. Xinian bowed and left. Inside her room, Yeshi was meditating and felt her spirit power climb. A sensation like a barrier breaking swept through her. She exhaled and opened her sapphire blue eyes, smiling at the surge of power. 45th level spirit ancestor, she murmured and rose. Ling Yuan stood quietly by the door. Young miss, she said with a brief smile of her own. Let's go for a walk, Ling Yuan, Yeshi replied, then went downstairs. Xinian has returned from the Dragon Duke and Snake Dowager's family, Ling Yuan told her as they walked, giving a concise account. Yeshi listened, unperturbed. As expected, an ambiguous answer, Ling Yuan said. Then do we need to visit Clan Chief Meng personally? Ling Yuan asked. No, Yeshi said, hands clasped behind her back. Even if we go ourselves, the result will likely be the same. There's no need. Chapter 65, Elegance Never Goes Out of Style. Just as she was coming down the hotel steps, Xinian appeared before Yeshi. Pavilion Master. He bowed, voice respectful. I already know everything. We're going to explore Soto City. You should come along. Yeshi gave a small wave, signaling him to rise, then walked out of the hotel. Ling Yuan and Xinian fell in step behind her. They moved through the lively street with an easy rhythm. Yeshi browsed the stalls and picked out items. Ling Yuan handled the payments, and Xinian carried their purchases. When Xinian stooped to lift another parcel and hurried to catch up, he froze. A chill ran through him as his gaze flicked back toward the street. He had the impression they'd been followed since the last block. He glanced at Ling Yuan beside Yeshi, but said nothing, quickening his pace to close the distance. If a spirit saint like him felt it, a titled Douluo like Ling Yuan certainly would have noticed too, yet neither of them reacted outwardly. Yeshi had seen as well, but she and Ling Yuan simply didn't care. At the corner, a leering middle-aged man in black poked his head out and peered after them. A young miss, doesn't look dangerous, he muttered. Tall, pretty, no detectable spirit fluctuations. He ignored the man trailing behind the trio. Behind a stall, a plump figure peered cautiously, Ma Hongjun. He watched the lecherous man and frowned. This guy gives off a bad vibe, he whispered to himself. He couldn't shake the feeling he'd seen the silver-haired woman before, but he couldn't place her. When the lewd man moved out into the street, Ma Hongjun slipped out of hiding and followed. Yishi toyed with a hairpin at a stall and glanced back with cool blue eyes. "Are they still following us?" she asked, twirling the pin. "Yes," Ling Yuan answered calmly. "Do you want me to deal with them?" Xinyan asked. "No need," Ling Yuan said, serene. "I'm in a good mood today. I'll give them a chance." Yeshi's tone was indifferent. She left the stall with the hairpin while Ling Yuan paid the vendor. They walked toward a quieter end of the market and slipped into a small, slightly secluded restaurant. It was off the main path, and perhaps because it wasn't mealtime, only a few people were inside. They sat. Yeshi picked up the menu first, casually ordered dishes she liked, then handed it to Ling Yuan. He added a few items and glanced at Xinyan, offering the menu to him. "Anything?" he asked. "No, I'm not picky," Xinyan replied and quickly waved the offer away. Ling Yuan handed the menu to the waiter and asked for some of Yeshi's preferred drinks. Yeshi sat back and waited, fingers tapping the tabletop in a faint, rhythmic pattern. Outside, the lecherous man, whose name was Bu Lei, stepped out of the shadows and walked toward the restaurant. He muttered to himself with a lascivious grin. "I followed them the whole way, even made myself visible a few times. They never noticed. Definitely no masters among them." Behind him, Ma Hongjun watched from the shadow of a stall, thinking of the silver-haired woman. "If I act now, they won't see it coming," he mused. He almost smiled at the thought of playing the hero later to boost his reputation, then followed Bu Lei. Bu Lei blinked when he saw the trio through the restaurant window and sauntered in. "My name's Bu Lei. I'm not unknown around Soto City," he announced, eyes openly scanning Yeshi and Ling Yuan. "Mind if I share your table?" He made no move towards Xinyan, focusing entirely on the two women. Yeshi ignored him, signaling Xinyan with a slight look that said, "Wait." She picked up her drink and sipped it with composed leisure. Just as Bu Lei was about to take a seat, a boyish voice called out from behind him. "In broad daylight? Harassing decent women." Bu Lei turned. From the shadows stepped Ma Hongjun, and with him came a sudden burst of spirit power. His spirit manifested as an evil fire phoenix. 2 yellow spirit rings sparked under his feet. A 2-ring spirit grandmaster? Bu Lei scowled. For a moment, he had feared someone more formidable was protecting the table, but a 2-ringer wasn't worth worrying about. Then Bu Lei's own spirit flared. 1 white ring, 1 yellow, and 2 purple rings spun into being beneath him. His face darkened. He had no patience for games. Words were wasted, so he lunged forward at Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun's face clouded when he saw Bu Lei's spirit ring. A 4-ring spirit ancestor, he had clearly misjudged the opponent. He still didn't back down. Meeting Bu Lei head-on, Ma Hongjun fought, but Bu Lei's superior spirit power quickly decided the exchange. Sharp strikes forced Ma Hongjun back. He was sent flying and landed hard. "With strength like that, and you still want to play the hero?" Bu Lei spat casually. "Hiss!" Ma Hongjun picked himself up, breathing sharply from the pain. "If you're so capable, don't run. Wait for me to come back." He cast one last glance at the spirit ring by Bu Lei's foot and then turned toward Shrek Academy. He'd realized from their clash he couldn't beat Bu Lei alone. He needed to fetch help. Xinyan's mouth twitched as he watched Ma Hongjun hurry off. At first, he and Bu Lei had assumed Ma Hongjun was trying to be a gallant savior, but the result had been the opposite. The man had only come out to get beaten. Bu Lei glanced after him with a flicker of disdain and continued toward Yeshi and the others. "The show's over," he said. "Handle it cleanly," Yeshi replied, hand resting casually on her head. Xinyan nodded. "Don't worry, you weren't scared, were you?" Bu Lei smiled at the spirit rings flashing under his feet. "Have you ever seen a 4-ring spirit ancestor?" Then Xinyan's spirit manifested behind him, and 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black spirit rings, 7 in total, flashed under his feet. Ling Yuan crossed her arms. Her spirit, blazing spirit swift, appeared, and after spirit possession, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black rings, 9 in all, glimmered beneath her. "Have you seen a 7-ring spirit saint?" Xinyan asked. "Have you seen a 9-ring titled Douluo?" Ling Yuan finished. Bu Lei's steps faltered. He stared at the rings, confusion and alarm widening his eyes. "Spirit saint, Tea, titled Douluo, he stammered. Before he could recover, Xinian flashed forward, scooped Boulay up, and carried him off. Yeshi had wanted the matter dealt with quietly, and Xinian intended to take Boulay elsewhere so as not to ruin her meal. The restaurant staff soon set the dishes down. Yeshi and Ling Yuan picked up their chopsticks and resumed eating as if nothing unusual had happened. Meanwhile, at Shrek Academy, Mahangjin barely had time to register the familiar surroundings before a hand landed on his shoulder. "Fatty, where have you been? How did you end up like this, all bruised and swollen?" a teasing voice asked. "Boss Dai, it's a bit embarrassing," Mahangjin replied, glancing back with a dejected look. Dai Mubai slid into a seat, unable to hide a grin. "If someone bullied you, tell me, and I'll get revenge." After a long sigh, Mahangjin recounted what had happened. Dai Mubai burst into laughter when he heard the story. "Ha ha, fatty! Next time you try to be a hero, check both sides' strength first." Mahangjin called him out, but Dai only laughed more. "So is she really that beautiful?" he asked, eyes gleaming. "Yes, silver hair, sapphire eyes, like gems, far prettier than Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, or Juju King," Mahangjin said earnestly. "All right, let's go teach him a lesson," Dai said, suddenly serious. "And I'll even teach you how to properly pursue girls." Just then, a cool voice spoke from behind. Dai Mubai turned to see Juju Qing and Ning Rongrong standing there. He opened his mouth but was cut off as Juju King snorted coldly and walked away without looking back. "Tsk, twin sisters, huh?" Dai grumbled under his breath. Ning Rongrong shot a glance at Dai and at the battered Mahangjin, then followed Juju Qing. "Boss Dai, weren't you going to help me get revenge? When are we leaving?" Mahangjin asked, coughing lightly as he watched them go. Dai Mubai fell silent for a moment, watching Juju King's departing figure with a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Then he refocused on Mahangjin. "Call little Ao and little San," he said. "Boulay's a spirit ancestor. If it's just the two of us, our chances aren't great." Mahangjin nodded and headed for Tang San and Oscar's room, while Dai Mubai gave one last look toward where the twin sisters had gone, then quickly followed. Chapter 67, I'll only demonstrate once. Dai Mubai pushed the door open and walked into the room. "Little Ao, little San, Fatty got beaten up. I'm taking him to get even. You two coming?" He sat down and glanced at Oscar, sprawled on the bed, and Tang San meditating in his cultivation posture. "Fatty, how did you end up like this?" Oscar swung his legs off the bed and went over to Mahangjin, his eyes flicking over Mahangjin's bruises. Tang San came out of meditation, looked at Mahangjin's swollen face, then met Dai Mubai's questioning gaze. Mahangjin shoved Oscar away and sat up on the bed, while Dai Mubai listened as Mahangjin explained the whole incident. "According to Fatty, Boulay is only middle to low among spirit ancestors. The four of us should be able to handle him," Dai Mubai said. "Are you two coming?" he asked, folding his arms and looking from Oscar to Tang San. "Of course I'll come, Boss Dai." Oscar thumped his chest with mock solemnity. "I'll go with you." Tang San climbed down from the bed and stepped to Dai Mubai's side. "We should tell Teacher Zhao and the others," he said quietly. "Just tell Zhao Wuji when we leave," Dai Mubai replied. He stood and they left the dorm together. Before departing Shrek Academy, they stopped at Zhao Wuji's office, reported everything clearly, and then set off in the direction of the restaurant. On the other side of town, after Xinian had finished dealing with Boulay's matter, he returned to Yexi's side. "Pavilion Master," he began with a bow, about to report the result. Yexi waved him off. "If you think it's handled, that's enough. No need to keep reporting." She tasted the dishes in front of her with a cool, detached air. "Yes, Pavilion Master," Xinian replied. He sat, picked up the spare bowl and chopsticks, and began sampling the food. Time passed slowly. Yexi put down her utensils and leaned back. Ling Yuan, seated beside her, stared out the window with her brows slightly knit. "Young miss," Ling Yuan said evenly, "that little fatty who was just driven off by Boulay has brought people back." "Don't worry about them," Yexi replied indifferently. "I'm in a good mood today. As long as they don't cause trouble, it's fine." She picked up a glass of juice and waved a hand. Outside, Dai Mubai and the others were surveying the area. "Fatty, where's this Boulay you mentioned?" Dai Mubai scanned the street but couldn't spot him. He must have run off. Mahangjin spat. "If he ran, let's leave it. We'll get our revenge next time we see him." Dai Mubai patted Ma Hongjun's shoulder and pointed at the restaurant window where Ye Shi was seated. Fatty, is that the young miss you talked about? Ma Hongjun followed the finger and nodded. Yeah, that's her. He frowned as if trying to place her. She looks familiar, like I've seen her somewhere. Oscar leaned in and whispered his assessment with a grin. Not bad. She might be prettier than Ning Rongrong, at least in the face. Ma Hongjun considered that seriously. Well, she's no Juju King when it comes to figure, but she's still really attractive. Oscar's eyes lit up. Tang San only nodded and then averted his gaze. If you want to pursue a girl, you have to be bold. Watch closely. I'll only demonstrate once. Dai Mubai gave Ma Hongjun an encouraging slap on the shoulder and strode toward the restaurant. As soon as he went in, Ye Shi, Ling Yuan, and Shi Nian looked up. Dai Mubai flashed a confident smile, produced a golden spirit card, and tossed it onto the counter. That table is on me. He pointed toward Ye Shi and walked straight over. Without hesitation, he pulled out a chair and sat down. I am Dai. Ye Shi set down her juice and cut him off. I know who you are. No introduction needed. Since I'm in a good mood and you paid, I won't hold it against you if you leave now, she said, voice cool and indifferent. Dai Mubai kept smiling. Oh? You know who I am? Have you been watching me for a while? He reached out his hand. Ling Yuan and Shi Nian tensed, ready to act, but Ye Shi gave them a slight look and they held back. Spirit power quietly gathered in Ye Shi's palm as Dai Mubai's hand neared. Just as he was about to touch her hand, a sudden burst of spirit energy surged from Ye Shi, slamming into Dai Mubai and sending him flying backward. His body shot out of the restaurant, crashing toward the pavement. Tang San was already moving. He snatched Dai Mubai out of the air and steadied him. Boss Dai, what was that demonstration you promised? Tang San asked, half amused, half bewildered. Ma Hongjun stared at him with wide eyes. That wasn't a demonstration. I didn't expect her to react so decisively. Dai Mubai rubbed at the spot he'd hit and winced. Then he squared his shoulders and marched back toward the restaurant. Attacking without warning is a bit much, he said. We're spirit masters. Let's do this by the rules. He stopped a short distance from the entrance to keep Ye Shi from striking again without warning. All right then, we'll follow the rules of the spirit master's world. Ye Shi rose from her chair and walked out of the restaurant. Since becoming pavilion master of Frost Snow Pavilion, she rarely took action personally. This would be a good chance to test herself against the protagonists. Seeing her step outside, Dai Mubai didn't hesitate. He followed. Chapter 68. Battle against the protagonist group. Outside the restaurant, Ye Shi and Dai Mubai faced each other in the open space. Tang San, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun sat a short distance behind Dai Mubai, watching in silence. Shi Nian and Ling Yuan took chairs by the restaurant entrance. Excuse me, Dai Mubai spoke, and his white tiger spirit surged out behind him. After spirit possession, 2 yellow and 1 purple spirit ring flashed beneath his feet. He leapt high, aiming straight for Ye Shi. Ye Shi made no move to release her spirit. Her azure eyes narrowed, and the moment Dai Mubai entered her range, she spun and swept a horizontal kick. The blow landed squarely on his abdomen, sending him crashing to the ground. Rye cracks spidered across the earth beneath him. Dai Mubai gasped and tried to rise, but Ye Shi planted her foot on his chest and pushed him back down. I already said, if you'd left earlier, I wouldn't have bothered. Why didn't you listen? Her pressure increased without meaning to, though she kept one calculating glance on Tang San and the others to guard against a sneak attack. Seeing Dai Mubai pinned, Ma Hongjun immediately rose and exchanged a look with Oscar before quietly moving. Tang San also stood, silent, watching. Third spirit ability, White Tiger Barrier, Dai Mubai roared. The third spirit ring at his feet flashed. His muscles bulged as he braced against the ground and tried to force himself free. Ye Shi merely stamped down harder, cracking the ground further. First spirit ability, Phoenix Ray. A scorching attack sliced in from the side. Ye Shi moved to evade, but thick blue-silver grass suddenly coiled up from the earth around her, binding her limbs. At the same instant, Dai Mubai flipped away from her range. The blazing strike slammed into the ground with a bang, kicking up a cloud of dust that filled the air and hid everything within. Shi Nian was about to stand when Ling Yuan's voice drifted to his ear, calm and amused. Young miss hasn't made a move in a long time. Let her have a little fun. Is it done? Ling Yuan added with a faint smile. Ma Hongjun peered into the dust. Tang San's eyes flared purple as he activated Purple Demon Eye and pierced the murk. What Tang San saw made his face go pale, something that made no sense within everything he'd been taught. Teacher Zhao said the highest possible age for a first spirit ring is 423 years, and for a second ring spirit, it's 732, Tang San murmured. How can her spirit ring configuration be 100-year, 1,000-year, another 1,000-year, and even a 10,000-year ring? He barely had time to register it before the 10,000-year ring beneath Yeshi flashed. Fatty, be careful, Tang San warned Ma Hongjun. Fourth spirit ability, Angel's Roar. Yeshi's voice cut out from the dust. A piercing, layered sound formed invisible waves that radiated outward. The mental assault slammed into the spiritual seas of Tang San, Ma Hongjun, and the others, wrenching at their minds until their heads felt ready to split. When did it become acceptable in the Spirit Master world for 4 people to gang up on one? Yeshi asked coldly as the dust began to thin. They all covered their ears to try to dampen the sound. Then a burly figure stepped forward and blocked the mental attack with a surge of spirit power. Let's stop here, he said flatly. The 4 of you can't even defeat one person. How embarrassing. Teacher Zhao, relief flashed across the faces of Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, Tang San, and the others as they fell back and took their places behind him. Zhao Wuji glanced toward Ling Yuan and Shi Nian at the restaurant entrance with a trace of wariness in his eyes, though he didn't know Ling Yuan. Young miss, although they broke the rules, you've already taught them a lesson. Why not let it end here? He suggested, addressing Ye Shi. Ye Shi appraised Zhao Wuji and retracted her slaughter angel spirit. Zhao Wuji? She asked. Yes, it's me. He nodded, and his spirit, vigorous Vajra Bear, materialized behind him. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black spirit rings shimmered under his feet. You don't have that much face, he said to her. Yeshi only chuckled, snapped her fingers, and strolled toward the restaurant. Shi Nian rose as well and walked up to Zhao Wuji. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black spirit rings appeared under his feet too. Zhao Wuji, Shi Nian said, if you want to fight, this old man will oblige. No need for Ling Yuan, your excellency, to interfere. Zhao Wuji caught Shi Nian's meaning, then lowered his spirit and waved to indicate he didn't want to fight. He stepped toward Ling Yuan and in an even lower voice asked, Ling Yuan, your excellency, may I speak with you privately? He drew close and almost whispered, among these people is the son of Clear Sky, your excellency. Why don't we just let this matter go? Chapter 69, Clear Sky Douluo. Listening to Zhao Wuji, Ling Yuan let a cold smile curve her lips but remained silent, waiting for Ye Shi's reply. Ye Shi's mouth tilted into a playful grin. A light mischief shone in her azure eyes. Zhao Wuji, you don't actually expect me to give the Clear Sky Douluo Tang Hao any face, do you? She said. I'm telling you now, I never even held Tang Hao's reputation in any regard, much less him personally. Zhao Wuji froze. He had assumed that even if Ye Shi and the others wouldn't kowtow to Tang Hao personally, they would at least show him some respect. He hadn't expected them to be so dismissive. He tried to salvage the moment. Ahem, if you won't give the Clear Sky Douluo face, what about the Star Luo Empire? One of them is tied to the Star Luo Empire. Before he could finish, Ling Yuan rose from her seat. Trying to pressure me with the Star Luo Empire? I know more about the Star Luo Empire's affairs than you do. If I wanted him gone, the Star Luo Empire wouldn't stand in my way. Dai Weishi himself would probably thank me, Ye Shi said with a carefree laugh. Zhao Wuji fell silent. Ling Yuan's eyes flicked past him. She had noticed someone else. On an ancient tree across the clearing sat a middle-aged man in a black robe. The aura around him made Ling Yuan feel a prickling danger. Today's young misses are a bit too arrogant. A slightly hoarse voice transmitted telepathically into Ye Shi and Ling Yuan's minds. Ling Yuan's expression sharpened. Ye Shi remained cool. The same voice reached Zhao Wuji. He went stiff, then instinctively stepped back toward Tang San and the others. Reaching them, he lowered his voice. We've settled it. Let's leave. He motioned Tang San, Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, and Oscar to retreat to the academy while he stayed at the very edge, eyes on Shi Nian. Ling Yuan and Ye Shi already had this handled. Zhao Wuji didn't particularly fear Xinian, but he wanted Tang San and the others clear of danger. Xinian did not move to stop them. Once Tang San and company were at a safe distance, Zhao Wuji followed quickly. Xinian, stay with young miss and keep her safe, Ling Yuan instructed. Yes, Xinian replied, and then stood beside Ye Shi, scanning their surroundings. The middle-aged man leaped down from the ancient tree and walked toward them. With each step, a spirit ring flashed under his feet. The configuration revealed itself. 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red. 9 spirit rings in total. When people get old, they should find a good place to rest. Otherwise, no one will even take care of their corpse, the man said with a chuckle. Yeshi's eyes narrowed. Tang Hao. Ling Yuan stepped forward. Her spirit, the blazing spirit, manifested behind her. 9 spirit rings flashed beneath her feet as well. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black. Tang Hao laughed, turning his gaze to Ye Shi. Young misses today are truly bold. Qian Shunji, Spirit Hall's previous Supreme Pontiff, wouldn't have dared speak to me like that. Do you call that fearlessness, or just the ignorance of the young? He slammed the clear sky hammer into the ground and planted his foot on it, his gaze sweeping Ye Shi, Ling Yuan, and Xinian. I was planning to find you tonight, but if I don't show myself, it seems you wouldn't be able to leave. You can leave first before we talk, Ye Shi replied lightly. Ye Shi and Xinian moved as if to depart. Ye Shi, only a spirit ancestor, and Xinian, only a spirit saint, would be little use in a fight between titled Douluo. It made sense for them to step back so they wouldn't hinder Ling Yuan. Ling Yuan was a level 96 peak Douluo. Tang Hao was only level 95 and dragged down by chronic injuries incurred in his battle with Qian Shunji. Even though Tang Hao relied on the Clear Sky sect's legacy techniques and the devastating but body-taxing ring explosion, with his ailments, he could not use those techniques freely. As Ye Shi and Xinian prepared to leave, Tang Hao moved to block them, only to be halted by Ling Yuan. Clear Sky Douluo, I've long wanted to see how you perform, Ling Yuan said, stepping forward. She unleashed her aura fully, pressing down on Tang Hao without reservation. Tang Hao's expression remained composed but turned serious. He unleashed his aura as well, and the two forces slammed into each other. The clash made it clear who held the advantage. Ling Yuan, as a level 96 peak Douluo, pressed the upper hand, her spirit power overwhelming Tang Hao's despite his title and the legacy techniques at his disposal. Chapter 70, Ling Yuan versus Tang Hao. Ling Yuan moved first. Flames kindled in her hand and she leapt forward, launching a direct assault at Tang Hao. Tang Hao swung the clear sky hammer up and met her attack. Scorching fire struck metal with a thunderous crash. Spirit energy rippled outward from the impact. 7th spirit ability, Spirit Avatar, Tang Hao intoned. The 7th spirit ring beneath his feet flared, and the clear sky hammer swelled until it was the size of a small mountain, plummeting down toward Ling Yuan. She dodged quickly. The hammer struck the ground and sent a choking cloud of dust billowing up that almost swallowed her. Ha ha, this really fires one up, she murmured. 8th spirit ability, Boiling Blood. A feather appeared in Ling Yuan's palm. She clenched it, and feathers rained from the sky, each one igniting and crashing toward Tang Hao. He dodged and swung the clear sky hammer, knocking away the falling flames. Ling Yuan, meanwhile, moved with calculated speed. A poisoned golden dart formed in her hand, and she hurled it. The dart sang through the air. Tang Hao swept the hammer horizontally and intercepted the dart, then launched himself upward to meet Ling Yuan in midair. Spirit techniques clashed around them in a chorus of explosions. At first, the fight seemed evenly matched. 7th spirit ability, Spirit Avatar, Ling Yuan replied. The 7th ring at her feet flickered, and a towering flaming phantom of Ling Yuan materialized behind her and charged Tang Hao. Tang Hao's 1st spirit ring beneath his foot shattered, its energy pouring into the clear sky hammer, which he slammed forward. The fiery phantom and the hammer met. An invisible chi wave rolled outward from the point of collision. Both combatants recoiled, each forced back several steps. As they pulled away, Ling Yuan snatched another golden dart and flung it. It struck Tang Hao's arm and embedded itself. Ring explosion, she cried. Ling Yuan's expression hardened, her beautiful eyes narrowing. Tang Hao glanced at his arm. The skin around the dart had already turned a dark, bruised purple. Poison? He said quietly. It looks like I can't drag this out any longer, he muttered, and the slaughter god domain bloomed around him. The second, third, and fourth spirit rings beneath his feet shattered one after another, their energy fusing into the clear sky hammer. Ling Yuan tensed, vigilance flashing in her gaze, and the ninth ring, beneath her own feet, flickered in reply. They struck almost at the same instant. The collision rocked the air. Ling Yuan was driven backward more than 10 meters before she managed to steady herself. Tang Hao wavered as well. His old injuries and the backlash from the ring explosion had taken their toll. He stared at Ling Yuan, a swift decision passing through his deep eyes. Then the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth spirit rings beneath his feet detonated, transforming into pure energy that poured into the clear sky hammer. The weapon, now brimming with devastating force, smashed toward Ling Yuan. She did not hesitate. She met the blow head-on. The impact detonated like a cannon shot. Ling Yuan was flung backward uncontrollably. When she finally steadied herself and scanned the battlefield, Tang Hao was gone. "Tang Hao," she whispered, a shadow of worry crossing her face. A thread of crimson bled from the corner of her mouth, and she wiped it away. Unable to find him, she retracted her spirit and headed back to the hotel. In the forest outside Shrek Academy, Tang Hao fell from midair and hit the earth hard, coughing up a mouthful of fresh blood that spattered the ground. "What kind of poison is this? My spirit power can't purge it," he grunted. He stopped beneath an ancient tree and inspected the wound where the golden dart had lodged. The muscle around the entry had died and twisted. He could not simply pull the dart free. He would have to cut the tissue away. Spirit power gathered at his fingertips. He sliced the damaged flesh free and dropped it to the ground. The blood that welled out was not normal red, but a deep, dark purple, the unmistakable sign of a potent venom. Even his spirit power could only suppress it, not eliminate it. Tang Hao sat with his back to the tree and grimaced as he checked the rest of his injuries. Shattering 8 spirit rings with ring explosion earlier, coupled with his old wounds, had left him in a grievous state. The poison only compounded his peril. "I can't use ring explosion so casually anymore," he muttered. He rose, cast one last look toward Shrek Academy, and then moved silently into the deeper woods, disappearing from sight. Back at the hotel, Ling Yuan went straight to Yexi's room and knocked. The door opened and Yexi studied her intently. "Ling Yuan, you're back." "Young miss, I couldn't hold Tang Hao," Ling Yuan said, voice low, her head bowing slightly. "Forget Tang Hao for now." Yexi waved a hand in dismissal, then her brow creased. "Ling Yuan, are you hurt? How bad are your injuries?" She invited Ling Yuan inside, concern evident in her tone. The worry brought a small smile to Ling Yuan's face. "I'm fine," Ling Yuan replied. "I've taken some damage, but a bit of rest will see me through." She sat down casually. Yexi's expression turned serious as she suggested, "Invite Aunt Ye. The 9-heart begonia spirit is said to heal any wound." Chapter 71, Diverting Disaster. Ling Yuan reached out and gently smoothed Yexi's hair, her voice warm and tender. "Young miss, with Ye Qingxe's ability, she could certainly heal your wounds quickly, but didn't you ask her to look after everything at Frost Snow Pavilion for now?" The trip between Soto City and Frost Snow Pavilion isn't short. A round trip takes several days. If we rush to call Ye Qingshu over, won't it affect the pavilion? Ling Yuan smiled and held Yexi's gaze. "There won't be any problem. Even if Aunt Ye leaves, my sister can take care of Frost Snow Pavilion." "Ling Yuan, wait here. I'm going to find Xi Nian right now." Yexi rose without thinking twice and left the room. Ling Yuan said nothing as she watched her go. She sat cross-legged and began to channel spirit power to mend her injuries. Yexi went straight to Xi Nian's room. As she entered, Xi Nian stood and bowed immediately. "Pavilion Master." "You're to leave at once," Yexi said plainly. "Go back to Frost Snow Pavilion and bring Hallmaster Ye to Soto City. Tell her Ling Yuan was injured and needs treatment." "I'll go at once," Xi Nian replied, bowing once more. He left without delay for Frost Snow Pavilion. After Xi Nian departed, Yexi returned to her room. Ling Yuan, seated cross-legged, was quietly recovering. Yexi didn't disturb her and sat by the window to wait. Time passed slowly. 2 or 3 hours later, Ling Yuan's eyes opened. After a short period of recovery, she could feel her wounds easing. "How do you feel now?" Yexi asked softly. "Young miss, I've recovered somewhat already," Ling Yuan answered, smiling faintly. Tell me about your fight with Tang Hao. Yeshi drummed her fingertips on the table, listening. Ling Yuan did not hesitate. She recounted the battle in detail. As Yeshi listened, her blue eyes grew thoughtful. Although I was injured, Tang Hao is worse off than I am, Ling Yuan said. Her face grew serious. I even used poisoned hairpins on him. So in the fight with you, he used ring explosion, detonating 8 spirit rings, and he was poisoned, Yeshi murmured, considering the implications. That's right, Ling Yuan confirmed. Given his old ailments, the ring explosion and the poison will make things much worse for him. Yeshi tapped the table again, thinking. Tang Hao had long-standing health issues. Now he detonated 8 spirit rings and taken poison. His body would be pushed to the edge. With the traps Yeshi had already set in the Star Do Great Forest, if Tang Hao followed Tang San and Xiao Wu into the forest and encountered the Titan Giant Ape and the Sky Azure Bull Python, a major battle would erupt. In his current state, even surviving such beasts would leave him broken. Like a mantis stalking the cicada. Excellent, Yeshi said. She eyed the alternatives. But if we can divert the disaster elsewhere, the result might be even better. Ling Yuan waited quietly as Yeshi weighed the options. After a moment, a subtle light came into Yeshi's eyes. Ling Yuan, for now you must focus entirely on recovering. I understand, young miss, Ling Yuan replied. She closed her eyes and concentrated her spirit power on healing. Yeshi settled back and closed her eyes as well, taking a rest while she planned. Shrek Academy, Zhao Wuji stood before Tang San, Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, Oscar, and the others, his gaze sweeping over them. Shrek Academy doesn't shy away from trouble, but when you stir things up, you must be sure you can handle what follows. If I hadn't been covertly following you today, whether you could have come back would have been uncertain. He paced once in front of them, hands clasped behind his back. Daimubai gave a wry smile, helplessness in his voice. Teacher Zhao, none of us expected her to be so powerful. Daimubai knew better than anyone how strong she had been. He'd released his spirit and used a spirit ability and still been effortlessly overwhelmed by her. All right, don't provoke that little girl if you don't have to. Go back and rest. After giving them that warning, Zhao Wuji clasped his hands and headed toward Flender's room to report what had happened. Daimubai started for his own room first, followed by Tang San and the others. As they walked, Oscar glanced at Tang San, who was lost in thought, and nudged him. Little San, what are you thinking about? Didn't Teacher Zhao already handle it? Oscar rested a hand on Tang San's shoulder, curiosity plain on his face. Her spirit ring configuration is odd. Tang San looked at him with interest. According to my teacher's research, a 4-ring spirit ancestor should be 2 yellow and 2 purple rings, but hers is 1 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black. Oscar pointed to Dai Mubai, who was leading the group. Compared to her ring setup, her personal situation is more worth studying. She seems our age, but is already a 4-ring spirit ancestor, while Boss Dai is only a 3-ring spirit elder. Tang San's brows drew together as he considered it. The girl's strength, her unusual spirit rings, and the ease with which she'd handled them all left questions brewing in his mind. They walked on through the academy, each absorbed in their own thoughts about the mysterious girl and the trouble she had brought. Trouble that, for now, had been deftly diverted. Chapter 72, Yi Qingshe's Arrival. After a moment's thought, Tang San nodded. If that's true, her cultivation speed is definitely much faster than ours. When I see my teacher next, I'll ask him about it, Tang San said, eyes thoughtful. Oscar reached out and patted Tang San's shoulder. He was about to say more when he noticed Ning Rongrong approaching. Little San, you and Boss Dai should head back first. I still have a few things to do. With that, he walked over to Ning Rongrong. Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others exchanged glances, and then quietly went their separate ways. Oscar stopped a short distance from Ning Rongrong and was about to speak when she looked up at him. What were you all doing just now? She asked. Why did Dai Mubai look like he'd been hurt? Oscar found a place to sit and began recounting the incident. Ning Rongrong listened with growing surprise. The silver-haired, blue-eyed girl you mentioned, was she wearing black? How did you know? Oscar asked. Rongrong, do you know her? He pressed. It's really her, Ning Rongrong murmured. Then how did you all get back unharmed? She studied Oscar closely. From his description, she could be nearly certain the person they'd provoked was Ye Shi. Everyone in Heaven Do City knew that Ye Shi usually traveled with Ling Yuan, so Ning Rongrong was puzzled that they'd returned unharmed. Oscar said, Teacher Zhao stepped in. Teacher Zhao just said a few words and brought us back, he continued with a forced smile, watching Ning Rongrong. Nobody but a spirit saint would have that kind of face, Ning Rongrong replied skeptically. A spirit saint, Zhao Wuji, really enough to pacify her? She thought of Ye Shi's temperament and couldn't imagine anyone getting a favor from her simply because a spirit saint asked. Finding no good explanation, Ning Rongrong let it go and turned away, heading for her room. Rongrong, where are you going? Oscar called, about to follow. Don't follow me, she said curtly without looking back. Oscar sighed and returned to his room. Elsewhere, Flender sat in the main seat of his room, listening as Zhao Wuji recounted the day's events. Those youngsters really know how to stir up trouble, Flender said. But since Tang Hao personally stepped in, it should be settled. I'm curious how Tang Hao handled it, Zhao Wuji said. Flender waved him off. Why worry about it? Keep their training going tomorrow. There are always taller people to hold things up if the sky falls, he said, leg propped on the table, speaking casually. Zhao got up and left. After Zhao left, Flender picked up a scrap of paper and muttered to himself, frowning. Where can I get some money? He put the paper down and continued to brood in silence. Several days later, Ye Shi was meditating in her room when a knock sounded at the door. Ling Yuan rose to open it. The moment the door swung wide, Ye Qingxie stood on the threshold. Your Excellency Ling Yuan, I heard you were injured, so I left Heaven Do City at once, Ye Qingxue said, offering a gentle smile as she appraised Ling Yuan. I hope I'm not too late. You're not, Ling Yuan replied with a relieved smile and invited her inside the bed. Ye Shi sat cross-legged and watched them. Pavilion Master. Ye Qingxue bowed slightly. Aunt Ye, allow me to tend to Ling Yuan's injuries. Ye Shi smiled warmly. It's nothing serious. Ye Qingxue waved a hand, producing the 9-heart begonia spirit. 7 spirit rings shimmered under her feet, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black. As the 5th ring flashed, petals spun out from the begonia and swirled around Ling Yuan. Ye Qingxue's spirit power ebbed as the petals worked, and within a minute, Ling Yuan felt the last of her pain melt away and her wounds close completely. Thank you, Ling Yuan said, moving experimentally. I feel fine now. Ye Qingxue sat beside Ye Shi's bed. Pavilion Master, did you get into a conflict in Soto City? Ling Yuan was injured. Should I send people from Frost Snow Pavilion? Ye Shi considered briefly. It was a small clash with a titled Douluo. There's no need to send anyone. Ling Yuan and I can handle it. You've come all the way from Heaven Do City. You must be tired, and you've just healed Ling Yuan, Ye Shi added softly. Why don't you stay and rest in Soto City for a while? Ye Qingxue opened her mouth to speak, but Ye Shi interrupted gently. Aunt Ye, I have already entrusted the Frost Snow Pavilion's affairs to you. There's no need to report to me on every matter. Chapter 73. Nothing needs to be done. Ye Qingxue rose from the bed and bowed respectfully to Ye Shi. Young miss, I'm a little tired. I'll go rest in the next room. With that, she strode out. After the long journey and helping Ling Yuan recover, she truly was exhausted. Once Ye Qingxue left, Ling Yuan moved to Ye Shi's bedside. Miss Ye, is there anything we need to do now? Ye Shi stretched and waved a hand. Nothing for now. Keep an eye on Shrek Academy and wait for them to head to Stardew Great Forest. She leaned back and lay down on the soft bed. Seeing her relax, Ling Yuan smiled, asked no more, and quietly left the room. Time passed. After 3 days in Soto City, Ye Qingxue returned to Heaven Do City. Ye Shi and Ling Yuan remained in Soto City. During that time, Ling Yuan visited Shrek Academy daily to gather information surreptitiously. A month later, having finished her investigation, she returned straight to the hotel where Ye Shi was staying. Ye Shi lounged on the bed while Ling Yuan stood beside her, reporting. Miss Ye, from what I observed, the people from Shrek Academy should be heading to Stardew Great Forest soon. Ye Shi sat up and met Ling Yuan's eyes. Can you be sure? It should be correct, Ling Yuan answered seriously. The food system spirit master at Shrek Academy has already hit a bottleneck in his spirit power. The closest spirit beast forest to Soto City is Stardew Great Forest. They wouldn't go farther afield. Yeishi's eyes flashed. Then we should move first. She rose, changed into clothes suitable for action, and led Lingyuan out of the hotel in one direction. The next morning at Shrek Academy, the sparsely populated training ground held Tang San, Dai Mubai, and 7 others standing in a line, their gazes fixed on Zhao Wuji. "Mubai, you'll lead the team on this trip to Stardew Great Forest," he said. "I'll go with the group, but I won't interfere unless absolutely necessary," Zhao Wuji added, then put his hands behind his back and began to walk out of the academy. After a few brief arrangements, Dai Mubai took the lead and followed Zhao Wuji with Tang San and the others close behind. Unnoticed, 3 figures slipped after them from the shadows: Tang Hao, Ye Shi, and Ling Yuan. Tang Hao shadowed them at a distance, while Ye Shi and Ling Yuan followed at the very back, Ling Yuan concealing their qi so closely that even Tang Hao didn't detect them. They moved swiftly towards Stardew Great Forest. Once there, Zhao Wuji led Dai Mubai and the team into its depths. "How you find and hunt suitable spirit beasts is up to you," he said, slowing his pace and letting Dai Mubai take the front. "The outer areas are mostly century-old spirit beasts. Let's go deeper." "Yes, let's go deeper and find a suitable 1,000-year spirit ring for little Ao," Dai Mubai replied, looking to Tang San and the others for agreement. Tang San nodded, Oscar watched, and the rest agreed. Deep within Stardew Great Forest, the Titan giant ape sitting beside Lifelake slowly rose when it sensed Xiao Wu's qi. "It's Sister Xiao Wu's qi," it rumbled. "You go first. I'll observe from the shadows," said the Sky Azure bull python, its body rising from the lake. Its huge eyes fixed ahead, a chill in its gaze. The Titan giant ape didn't speak. It merely nodded and charged toward Xiao Wu's location, swatting aside trees with casual violence. The Sky Azure bull python followed at a distance, keeping itself back to verify whether what Ye Shi had told them earlier was true. Perched on an ancient tree near the forest's edge, Ye Shi stopped Ling Yuan as she was about to follow more closely. "Don't get too close," she whispered. "Keep further back. Maintain a safe distance." "All right, Miss Ye." Ling Yuan agreed, gathered Ye Shi in her arms briefly, and retreated to a safer perch before setting her down. "From here we can still see everything, and it should be safe." Ye Shi settled on a branch and watched the group below. Down on the forest floor, Dai Mubai, Tang San, and the others were searching for a suitable spirit beast for Oscar. Tang San suddenly paused. "Do you hear that?" Dai Mubai listened, then looked back. "It sounds like something big, like a giant creature running." Zhu King didn't speak. She sprang deftly onto a nearby ancient tree and peered toward the sound, eyes sharp. Dai Mubai glanced up at her. "Zhu King, did you see anything?" She didn't answer aloud, remaining motionless as she watched the direction of the noise. Chapter 74, Titan Giant Ape. Under Zhu King's stare, ancient, towering trees were torn down as a colossal form pushed its way through the foliage. The Titan Giant Ape filled the clearing. Before Zhu King could speak, the ape launched itself high into the air and came hurtling toward them. Everyone fell silent. Its approach needed no explanation. Zhao Wuji reacted fastest, stepping directly in front of Dai Mubai and the others, eyes locked on the descending titan. "Erming?" Xiao Wu whispered, mouthing its name as the ape landed with a thunderous crash. It swept its gaze over the group and quickly fixed on Xiao Wu. "Respected king of the forest, we mean no offense. If this is your territory, we will withdraw," Zhao Wuji said in a low, guarded voice. He had no idea why a creature that should have been in the Stardew Great Forest core area had turned up here. The Titan Giant Ape ignored him. It stepped forward and reached toward the spot where Xiao Wu stood. Zhao Wuji didn't hesitate. He released his spirit, vigorous Vajra Bear, and 7 spirit rings flashed beneath his feet, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black. Before Zhao could act further, the ape swung a palm at him and sent him flying into an ancient tree. Its massive hand closed around Xiao Wu, then it reared back and roared at the others. "Erming, put me down." Xiao Wu pleaded in a low voice from the ape's grasp. "Put Xiao Wu down." Tang San shouted, panic in his eyes. Hidden in the shadows, the Sky Azure bull python watched the scene intently, a cold gleam in its eyes. It transmitted into the Titan Giant Ape's ear. "Erming, slap the humans in front of you." The ape barely hesitated. It raised its other hand and brought it down toward the humans. "Erming, no!" Xiao Wu cried, scrambling to stop it. She knew better than anyone just how destructive the Titan giant ape could be. If it struck with full force, Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others would have no chance. The ape did not listen. The wind howled as its palm smashed toward them. At the last instant, the palm veered, colliding with a clear sky hammer with a resounding crash. The shock shoved the Titan ape back several steps. It howled in rage, its enormous eyes blazing as it stared at the man who had appeared before it. Titled Douluo, the ape growled, furious and wary. Xiao Wu's pupils dilated as she looked at the newcomer. The sky azure bull python's eyes narrowed in the shadows. Father? Tang San called tentatively as he recognized the figure's silhouette. Xiao Wu dropped the question into her gaze. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Then she noticed the 9 spirit rings flashing constantly beneath the man's feet. Disbelief overwhelmed her. Little San's father is a titled Douluo, she murmured. Tang Hao hummed in acknowledgement, his attention quietly fixed on the Titan giant ape. He could see the confusion on Xiao Wu's face and knew she had misunderstood. In the past, he had considered imprisoning Xiao Wu to become one of Tang San's spirit rings, but over the time Tang San and Xiao Wu had spent together, that intention had faded. Now was not the time for explanations, and even if he tried, the ape would never accept them. It still guarded Xiao Wu tightly, its huge eyes full of anger and suspicion. Zhao Wuji, take them away, Tang Hao said, raising the clear sky hammer, a solemn light in his eyes. If he were at his peak, he would have been confident in escorting Tang San and the others out himself. But his injuries from the fight with Ling Yuan had worsened, and he had been poisoned. He was not certain he could escape unscathed if the ape pressed the attack. Venerable clear sky, then I will take them out first. Zhao Wuji stood, positioned himself behind Tang Hao, and began to lead Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others toward the forest's edge. Teacher Zhao, what about Xiao Wu and my father? Tang San asked anxiously, glancing between Tang Hao and the ape's grasp of Xiao Wu. Your father is a titled Douluo. He can handle this. He'll bring Xiao Wu back. We should leave and not complicate matters, Zhao Wuji replied. He lifted Tang San, waved to Dai Mubai and the rest, and began withdrawing through the trees. The Titan giant ape remained on guard, expecting the sky azure bull python's arrival. Nearby, Yeshi rose silently and spoke into Ling Yuan's ear. Let's retreat a little farther. If they go berserk and the fight spreads this way, it'll be dangerous. Agreed, Ling Yuan said. He scooped Yeshi up by the waist and retreated without hesitation. Even after they had put some distance between themselves and the clearing, Ling Yuan held Yeshi in his arms, ready to run if the battle escalated. Ming, make your move now, the sky azure bull python instructed coldly in the ape's ear. The Titan giant ape answered with a deafening roar. It clenched a fist and charged Tang Hao. Tang Hao braced, and the 7th spirit ring beneath his feet flashed furiously as he prepared to meet the ape's assault. Chapter 75, Sky Azure Bull Python. With his spirit avatar activated, the clear sky hammer in Tang Hao's hand swelled to the size of a small mountain and swung toward the Titan giant ape's incoming fist. When the Titan giant ape's blow met the hammer, spirit power rippled out in waves. The shock snapped many trees as the energy cascaded through the forest. After the strike, Tang Hao didn't press the advantage. He glanced behind and saw the Sky Azure Bull Python blocking his retreat. Sky Azure Bull Python, his expression hardened. The Titan giant ape's strength was already on par with Tang Hao at his peak. Now another foe appeared whose power surpassed even the Titan ape. Human, you will not leave the Stardew Great Forest today. The Sky Azure Bull Python's voice was as cold as the ice of the 9 heavens, his eyes hard with killing intent. A slowing domain spread from his body and enveloped Tang Hao. The Titan giant ape roared, protecting Xiao Wu with one hand while striking at Tang Hao with the other. The Sky Azure Bull Python flicked his tail and launched a massive energy sphere toward Tang Hao. Facing attacks from both front and back, Tang Hao did not hesitate. His slaughter god domain flared about him. Given his drained condition, Tang Hao wondered internally how many more times he could use Ring Explosion, but his movements were still rapid. 2 yellow, 100-year spirit rings exploded and converted to pure energy, merging into the clear sky hammer. The propped-up hammer swung with titanic force and slammed into the nearest Titan giant ape. A thunderous roar rolled through the forest. Both combatants recoiled, and Tang Hao threw the clear sky hammer to intercept the energy sphere from the sky azure bull python. The sphere collided with the hammer, blasting it away. It smashed into the ground in a cloud of dust. A trickle of fresh blood ran from the corner of Tang Hao's mouth. Perhaps an old injury had been aggravated. He wiped it away and recalled the hammer. Attacks from the Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python followed in quick succession. Two purple Millennium Spirit Rings exploded beneath Tang Hao's feet, transforming into energy and fusing into the clear sky hammer. Hammer in hand, he met the two foes head-on. Energy cracks and concussive impacts echoed through the forest as the hammer shattered many of the sky azure bull python's scales and forced the Titan giant ape to retreat. Tsk, the clear sky sect's ring explosion is truly formidable. Watching from a distance, Yeshi clicked her tongue. The clear sky hammer spirit is top tier, but the real power lay in the ring explosion devised by Tang Chen. Without Tang Chen and that technique, the clear sky sect's dominance among the upper three sects might never have been secured. But once Tang Hao exhausts all his spirit rings, his strength will plummet, she added. Ling Yuan stepped back slightly, holding Yeshi close. Yeshi agreed with a nod and fell silent, eyes fixed on the battle. At the center of the fight, Tang Hao was flung backward, tearing through several ancient trees before slamming to the ground. He coughed up blood, but staggered to his feet. His gaze swept over the Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python as if searching for an opening to escape. They gave him no time. Powerful strikes came at him from both sides. While defending, Tang Hao kept his eyes locked on the Titan giant ape's right hand. He had made a decision. His body was blasted away again, sliding across the undergrowth. When he steadied himself, spirit rings ignited in sequence beneath his feet. First 4 black 10,000-year rings, then a blood-red 100,000-year ring. The energies of the 5 rings poured into the clear sky hammer. Tang Hao leapt and drove the hammer down straight at the Titan giant ape's right hand. Great Sumeru hammer, explode for me, Tang Hao roared as the hammer slammed with unstoppable force. The sky azure bull python's expression turned serious. Protect Xiaowu, Ming. He ordered the Titan giant ape before stepping forward to intercept Tang Hao's strike. The Titan giant ape shifted, putting the hand that had been shielding Xiaowu behind him and clenching his other fist to meet the attack. They clashed. Tang Hao spat a mouthful of bright red blood, but he gritted his teeth and poured spirit power into the hammer, trying to overwhelm them. The sky azure bull python and the Titan giant ape responded with bestial roars, pushing back. For a moment, they were locked in stalemate. The shockwaves shattered the surrounding towering trees and cracked the earth. Then, with a deafening bang, Tang Hao was the first to be sent flying backward, slamming into the ground. The Titan giant ape was blasted away as well, his massive body carving a long gouge in the earth. Many of the sky azure bull python's scales lay shattered and blood trailed to the ground. Tang Hao staggered to his feet and began moving toward the outer edge of the Star Doe Great Forest, not once looking back. Ming, take Xiaowu back to the Life Lake. The sky azure bull python ordered. The rest is up to me. With that, he pursued Tang Hao. After making sure Xiaowu was safe, the Titan giant ape took her and headed for the Life Lake. Ling Yuan, it's time for us to collect the spoils. Yishi's mouth curved into a beautiful smile as she watched Tang Hao retreat. Ling Yuan said nothing. She released her spirit and, taking Yeshi with her, joined the pursuit in Tang Hao's direction. Tang Hao pushed through the forest, blood constantly dripping from his body and occasionally coughing up more blood. Behind him, the sky azure bull python followed closely, hurling energy spheres at him from time to time. The distance between them shrank rapidly, as if the sky azure bull python would catch Tang Hao at any moment. Chapter 76. The fall of Tang Hao. Yeshi and Ling Yuan landed on a towering ancient tree and watched Tang Hao approaching in silence. Oh, isn't this His Excellency Hao Tian, the one who dared to strike the Supreme Pontiff? Yeshi mused, a playful smile flickering in her azure eyes. How did he end up like this? Ling Yuan dropped from the air to block Tang Hao's path and engaged him without hesitation. The sky azure bull python, trailing behind, slowed when it saw the confrontation. Its huge eyes flicked between Yeshi and Ling Yuan before it decided not to interfere. After only a few exchanges, Ling Yuan sent Tang Hao flying. He smashed heavily to the ground in front of the sky azure bull python. The giant serpent glanced at the fallen man, flicked its tail, and unleashed an energy orb that struck Tang Hao's body. The body exploded, leaving only scattered internal organs and a handful of spirit bones. Sky azure bull python, we mean no offense. May we take these spirit bones? Yeshi asked softly. The python met her gaze. You may, it rumbled. Yeshi then asked, are the terms we discussed before still valid? She gave Ling Yuan a look and gestured for her to collect the spirit bones. Since you promised last time, of course they still stand, the python answered, and then turned its massive body toward the life lake. Though it accepted information from humans, it held little affection for them. As the python prepared to leave, Yeshi called after it. One more thing. This human you killed is Tang Hao. He has the Clear Sky sect backing him. Now that he's gone, the Clear Sky sect might come looking for trouble. The Sky Azure Bull Python heard her plainly. Let them come. I'll be waiting for them in the core area, it sneered before disappearing. Ling Yuan returned to Yeshi's side with the spirit bones she had gathered. Young miss, the 6 spirit bones Tang Hao left behind are very old and of high quality, she reported, scanning them without a trace of regret. Any 100,000-year spirit bones among them? Yeshi inspected the 6 bones and frowned slightly. No. Ling Yuan shook her head decisively. Yeshi fell silent for a moment, replaying the original plot in her mind. Finally, she slid the spirit bones into her storage bracelet, but did not absorb them. Let's go, she said. When we get back, spread the news of Tang Hao's fall through the Douluo Great Forest. She leapt from the ancient tree, cast a last glance toward Tang Hao's ruined form, and headed for the forest's edge with Ling Yuan trailing quietly. The two vanished into the trees as if they had never appeared. Core area. Beside the Emerald Life Lake, a middle-aged man with a majestic face stood watching the water. Golden eyes and a single strand of gold threaded through his long black hair gave him an imposing presence. The Titan giant ape floated fully submerged in the lake, while Xiao Wu stood nearby, head bowed in silence. A breeze stirred the man's hair. His golden eyes shone with an indescribable authority. You're back, he said calmly. The Sky Azure Bull Python, which had just returned to the Life Lake, lowered its head in deference. My lord, it replied. Tell me what happened. Without being prompted, the python recounted the entire incident from start to finish, every detail, including Yeshi's warning that the Clear Sky sect might retaliate. The middle-aged man listened without interruption. When the narration was complete, he turned his gaze to Xiao Wu. Little rabbit, he said, from now on, unless it's important, you should go out less. Both of you remember to guard the gate well. As for any humans who might come looking for trouble, I'll handle them if necessary. He transformed into a black shadow and vanished before either the python or the Titan giant ape could respond. Only after the man had gone did the Sky Azure Bull Python lower itself into the Life Lake. Sister Xiao Wu, it said gently, your identity in the human world has been exposed. It's better to stay here in the Douluo Great Forest for now. If you truly long for the human world, wait until you truly become human before you go back. Xiao Wu slowly lifted her head. Da Ming, is what you said true? She asked. At first I wasn't sure, the python, Da Ming, replied. That's why I had Ming test him. Didn't you see the result? There really was a titled Douluo secretly following you. Xiao Wu sank to the lakeside and stared at the water, her thoughts turning over the image of Tang San calling Tang Hao father. Why hadn't he told her? Did he have other motives? A complicated expression crossed her face as she tried to sift through her feelings. The Titan giant ape watched quietly, making no sound. The breeze rippled the surface of the Life Lake and stirred the treetops, but Xiao Wu remained still, gazing into the water and lost in thought. Chapter 77, Spreading the News, Soto City. On a dim street not far from the Spirit Hall's main hall, Yeshi sat watching the building, her clear blue eyes quietly following its entrance. A moment later, Ling Yuan emerged from the hall and came straight to her side. Young miss, everything has been arranged, Ling Yuan reported. Tomorrow morning, the Spirit Hall will spread the news that Tang Hao fell in the Douluo Great Forest, Yeshi said. As Ling Yuan finished, Yeshi rose. All right, let's return to Heaven Dew City. She paused, then a playful light came into her eyes as she thought of Shrek Academy. Tang San is going to be interesting the next time he heads to the Stardew Great Forest and finds Xiao Wu staying with the Titan Giant Ape and the Sky Azure Bull Python. Without breaking stride, Yeshi walked toward the end of the street, Ling Yuan half a step behind, silently following. Their figures soon disappeared. 3 days later, the report of the Clear Sky Douluo's death in the Stardew Great Forest had spread through Soto City like wildfire. Within hours, almost everyone in the city had heard the news. Shrek Academy, Tang San, training, was called over by Zhao Wuji. Little San, come with me for a moment. Tang San stopped and hurried to his teacher. Teacher Zhao, has my father returned? Has Xiao Wu returned? Are they injured? His eyes shone with anxious hope, but Zhao only shook his head. Without answering, he led Tang San toward Flender's room. Inside, Tang San saw Flender and Yu Xiaogang, both with grave expressions. The room felt heavy. Zhao sat down and looked at them both, then at Tang San. Little San, you need to prepare yourself. What I'm about to tell you may be a severe blow. Yu Xiaogang took a deep breath and spoke quietly. The words that followed hit Tang San like a physical strike. Little San, your father, Tang Hao, might have fallen in the Stardew Great Forest. The sentence finished with Yu Xiaogang closing his eyes. Tang San froze. His eyes reddened, and a murderous aura began to build around him. Impossible. This can't be. My father is a titled Douluo. How could he fall in the Stardew Great Forest? He rushed at Yu Xiaogang, voice urgent and disbelieving. We don't want to believe it either, Yu Xiaogang said softly. But the news has spread all over Soto City, and I don't think it's without basis. If your father fell in the Stardew Great Forest, then Xiao Wu, who was taken by the Titan Giant Ape at that time, probably. Zhao Wuji let the sentence hang, unwilling to finish. Teacher Zhao, when you took us away, you said my father would withdraw. Why did this happen? Why? Tang San pressed, eyes bloodshot, murder in his gaze. Your teacher's choice was not wrong, Flender said solemnly. If your father truly fell in the Stardew Great Forest, with your current strength, what help could you possibly have offered? Tang San fell silent, staring toward the Stardew Great Forest. The killing intent in his eyes deepened. He gripped his hands until his palms ached and vowed inwardly, Titan Giant Ape, if my father truly fell because of you, I will make you pay with your blood. Yu Xiaogang rose and patted Tang San on the shoulder. What you need to do now is cultivate diligently. If your father did fall, you must become strong enough to avenge him yourself. Tang San only nodded, the deadly resolve in his eyes still faintly visible. Let's take a walk, Yu Xiaogang said, hands behind his back, and led Tang San out of the room. After they left, Flender rubbed his temples and looked at Zhao Wuji. Give the boy half a day to rest, and have Mu Bai and the others keep him company. This news is too heavy for him. All right, Zhao agreed and left. Heaven Dew City. On a busy street, Ye Shi and Ling Yuan walked side by side. Young miss, aren't we returning to Frost Snow Pavilion? Ling Yuan asked softly from behind. Not yet. We'll go to the Tiando Royal Palace first, Ye Shi replied and led the way. They arrived at the palace and made their way to Crown Prince Shui Qinghe's chambers without hindrance. The guards offered them no obstruction. Inside, Shui Qinghe sat at a wooden table, leisurely eating pastries. He looked up when they entered, set the pastry down, and gestured for Ye Shi to sit. You're back, Xiaoxi, Ling Yuan, he said. Ye Shi took her seat, a faint smile on her delicate face. I have some good news to tell you. Chapter 78, Qian Renshui's Surprise. Good news? What good news? Shui Qinghe's hand shimmered with golden spirit power. With a gentle motion, she altered her appearance back to Qian Renshui and regarded Ye Shi with curious eyes. Tang Hao has fallen. He fell in the Stardew Great Forest. Sister, don't you think this is good news? Ye Shi picked up a pastry and looked at Qian Renshui with a half-smile. Qian Renshui froze for a moment, then recovered, her face lighting up with shock and delight. Tang Hao has fallen? Xiaoxi, is this true? Urgency colored Qian Renshui's voice as she met Ye Shi's gaze. It's true. Ye Shi nodded and gestured to Ling Yuan standing nearby to explain. Ling Yuan stepped forward and recounted the events that led to Tang Hao's fall. As he spoke, Qian Renshui's eyes brightened with joy. When Ling Yuan finished, Qian Renshui reached out and lifted Ye Shi into her lap. Xiaoxi, thank you for avenging my father. She hugged Ye Shi tightly, her voice full of warmth and relief. In Qian Renshui's memories, her father Qian Shunji had been fatally wounded by the clear sky Douluo, Tang Hao. Now that Tang Hao was gone, she felt a deep, almost childish happiness. Yeshi sat quietly in her arms, saying nothing. She had experienced rebirth and knew who had truly caused Qian Shunji's fall, but she would not reveal it now. Let Tang Hao take the blame for the time being. Suddenly, Yeshi's body stiffened and her cheeks flushed noticeably. At some point, Qian Renshui had leaned in and kissed her on the cheek. The faint scent on Yeshi's skin made Qian Renshui's smile even more radiant. Xiaoxi, let's go back to Spirit City. I want to pay my respects to my father. Qian Renshui stroked Yeshi's silver hair, her voice threaded with feeling. It's been 3 years since we left. It's time to go home. Yeshi thought for a moment, then agreed. All right, once I settle things at the Tiando Royal Palace, we'll return to Spirit City. Qian Renshui released her and stood, preparing to arrange matters at the palace. I'll head back to Frost Snow Pavilion first and ask Tian Yao. She hasn't been back to Spirit City in a long time either. I'll see if she wants to come with us. I'll come by Frost Snow Pavilion tonight. Yeshi stood before her, expression serious. Okay, I'll see you there tonight. A golden light shimmered around Qian Renshui as she shifted back into Shui Qinghe. Together they left the palace. Yeshi and Ling Yuan went toward Frost Snow Pavilion, while Shui Qinghe went the other way. Back at Frost Snow Pavilion, Yeshi led Ling Yuan into the backyard, where Tian Yao, Du Guyan, Ye Lingling, and others were meditating and cultivating. Young miss, you're back. Xiaoxi, you're back. Tian Yao, Du Guyan, and Ye Lingling emerged from their meditative state and approached Yeshi. Yes, I'm back. Yan Yan, you and Lingling have both reached the four-ring spirit ancestor stage. Yeshi looked at Du Guyan and Ye Lingling and spoke softly. After absorbing the immortal herb you gave me, my spirit power reached the spirit ancestor stage. Now my strength is similar to Tian Yao's. Lingling is a little behind. She's currently a level 41 spirit ancestor. Du Guyan smiled, clearly pleased. Lingling's role is support, so it's natural her cultivation progresses a bit slower. All right, Yan Yan, Lingling, keep cultivating. I need to talk to Tian Yao. Yeshi turned to Tian Yao. Okay, we'll keep cultivating. Du Guyan nodded and led Ye Lingling away to continue. Yeshi and Tian Yao found a quiet spot to sit together. Tian Yao, Qian Renshui and I are going back to Spirit City. Do you want to come with us? Yeshi asked, smiling. Yes. Tian Yao's answer was immediate and bright. I haven't seen Grandpa in so long. It'll be a good chance to show him my progress. When she and Yeshi had left 3 years before, Tian Yao had been only a spirit grandmaster. Now she was already a 4-ring spirit ancestor, a meteoric rise few could match. I'll come by tonight, Yeshi said. Then we'll decide when to return to Spirit City. Tian Yao stood and said, I'll go back and prepare. Yeshi watched her leave and rose, heading to the main hall. There she found Ye Qingshui handling the pavilion's affairs. Pavilion Master. Ye Qingshui stood and bowed slightly as Yeshi approached. Aunt Ye, there's no need for formalities. Yeshi sat in motion for her to do the same. Pavilion Master, these are the matters I've handled while I was away. Ye Qingshui pushed a ledger of the pavilion's affairs across the table for Yeshi to review. Yeshi skimmed it briefly and then pushed it back. Aunt Ye, I trust you completely. There's no need for me to go over everything. Yeshi's tone was serious but relaxed. Ye Qingshui's face softened with gratitude. Since you're back, I suppose I won't need to manage Frost Snow Pavilion's affairs much longer, right? Ye Qingshui asked, looking at her. I'll have to leave Heaven Do City again for a while. I'll need you to take care of Frost Snow Pavilion on my behalf during that time. Yeshi gave a small, apologetic smile. It's no trouble at all, Ye Qingshui replied. I don't have many responsibilities with the Nine-Heart Begonia family, so overseeing the pavilion is not a problem. She waved her hand reassuringly, readily agreeing to help. Chapter 79, Returning to Spirit City. Yeshi smiled and took 2 high-quality spirit bones from her spirit tool, placing them before Aunt Ye. Aunt Ye, put these 2 spirit bones in the Frost Snow Pavilion treasury. They can be used as rewards later. Ye Qingshui accepted them and began to inspect them. Both were 10,000-year-old spirit bones of very fine grade, practically priceless on the open market. Yeshi said nothing, only smiled. When Tang Hao had died, he'd left 6 spirit bones. The two she'd just handed over were actually the worst of the lot. "Aunt Ye, I'll head back now." Ye Shi rose and walked toward her room. Watching her go, Ye Qingshui's gentle smile deepened. "My choice back then was indeed right," she murmured, then picked up the bones and went off toward the Frost Snow Pavilion treasury. Ye Shi returned to her room and, after a quick glance around at the spotless furnishings, obviously kept immaculate, sat on the bed and began to meditate. Time passed slowly. Evening gave way to night. In the depth of her cultivation session, she heard the door open and looked up to see Qian Renshui step into the room. "Sister, have you finished handling the matters at the Tiando Royal Palace?" Qian Renshui asked. "Yes, everything's taken care of," Ye Shi replied. "I left Shi Long and Si Shui at the Tiando Royal Palace to prevent any accidents," Qian Renshui said, then sat on the edge of Ye Shi's bed and added softly, "Xiaoxi, how did things go on your side?" "If everything's handled, let's go back to Spirit City," Ye Shi said. A smile lit Qian Renshui's face. "I handed my affairs over to Aunt Ye as well." "When are we leaving?" Ye Shi stretched and made herself comfortable again. "We'll depart tomorrow morning and return to Spirit City. Then we should rest tonight." Qian Renshui leaned back and lay down beside her. "If we leave at dawn, I'll cultivate a little longer." Ye Shi nodded. Qian Renshui closed her eyes and rested while Ye Shi re-entered meditation. Early the next morning, they left their rooms and walked to Tianyao's door. Ye Shi knocked. After a moment, the door opened, and a still sleepy Tianyao peered out. "Young lord." "Second miss." Tianyao rubbed at her eyes as she took in the two visitors. "Tianyao, get ready. My sister and I will wait for you at the Frost Snow Pavilion entrance." "Get ready?" Tianyao blinked, then understood and hurried back inside to wash. "I'll be right out." "No need to rush," Qian Renshui said, taking Ye Shi's hand as they headed to the pavilion entrance. A carriage stood waiting, and Ling Yuan sat by the reins. The two got into the carriage compartment and waited. About 15 minutes later, Tianyao came out and climbed in. Ling Yuan cracked the reins, and the carriage rolled towards Spirit City. Tianyao watched the scenery slide by through the window, and a content smile spread across her delicate face. "When my grandfather learns my current spirit power rank, he'll be so happy," she said reflectively. "Second miss will definitely be pleased." "There aren't many your age who can reach the 4-ring spirit ancestor rank," Qian Renshui said earnestly. Tianyao nodded, pleased. Ye Shi said nothing, resting with her back against the carriage wall and her eyes closed. Qian Renshui reached over and gently smoothed Ye Shi's hair and then fell quiet. Tianyao continued to gaze out, full of youthful enthusiasm. Under Ling Yuan's guidance, the carriage left Heavendo City and soon vanished into the distance. God Realm, Shura God's Hall. Sea God pushed open the hall doors and stepped inside. "Asura, I'm here again." He bowed slightly to the Asura God seated on the main throne and then sat opposite him. "Do you need something from me?" Asura asked. Sea God forced a smile, but spoke with restrained urgency. "Asura, there's a small matter I need your help with." Asura said nothing, waiting. "My Sea God's heart is still in that little girl's hands," Sea God said. "That spirit tool is essential to inheriting my position as Sea God. I must get it back." "Then why come to me?" Asura asked casually. "I didn't take your Sea God's heart," Asura replied, tapping the armrest with one finger. "What I want is for my divine thought to descend to the continent for a trip, make it convenient for me." "No," Asura said. "Divinities may not interfere in matters on the continent. That is the God Realm's rule." Asura's eyes narrowed slightly, and his refusal left no room for argument. Chapter 80. Why are you back? The Sea God's face betrayed no surprise at the Asura God's refusal. He had expected it. "Asura, then what about my Sea God's heart?" the Sea God asked. "I left the Sea God's heart on the continent to find a legacy bearer who could withstand my Hanhai Qiankun power. It's part of my divine legacy. I'm not about to leave it there." He reclined in his seat, eyes quietly fixed on the Asura God who occupied the main seat. "Come with me, we'll go to the Angel Temple." After a moment's thought, the Asura God rose and followed him out of the hall. "Didn't the Angel Temple close after that great war in the God Realm?" he asked. "The Angel God was seriously wounded in that war," the Sea God replied. "But she recovered about 12 days ago. She just hasn't reopened the Angel Temple yet." 12 days ago? One day in the god realm is 1 year on the continent. That little girl would only be around 12 years old now. The sea god murmured, a flicker of thought in his eyes. The Asura god merely shot him a sideways glance and said nothing. Together they left the Asura god's hall and headed for the angel temple. On the continent, the carriage carrying Yeshi, Qian Renshui, Tian Yao, and their attendants finally pulled up at the Supreme Pontiff Palace. Yeshi, Qian Renshui, and Tian Yao stepped down and walked straight into the palace, Ling Yuan following quietly behind them. Seated on the Supreme Pontiff's throne, Bibi Dong looked up as they entered. "Why are you back?" she asked coolly. Her gaze swept over Yeshi and Tian Yao and lingered on Qian Renshui. "Do I need to report to you when I return?" "Sister," Qian Renshui flared. The single word snapped out like a bite. Bibi Dong gave a small, sharp smile. "Of course not, but what about the Heaven Do Empire?" Her expression darkened, but Qian Renshui cut her off. "You don't need to worry about things over there." With that, she strode past toward the Hall of Offerings. Yeshi followed without comment. "Supreme Pontiff," Yeshi said, and quickened her pace. Tian Yao called after them. "Second, miss, wait for me," and hurried along as well. Ling Yuan bowed slightly to Bibi Dong and then fell in beside them. Bibi Dong watched them go with an unreadable face. The pen she used to handle official matters suddenly developed a fine crack and, with a dry snap, broke in her hand and clattered to the floor. She glanced at the fragments, composed herself, picked up a new pen, and continued her work as if nothing had happened. As they walked toward the Hall of Offerings, Qian Renshui slipped her hand into Yeshi's and smiled in a way that softened her whole face. "Xiaoxi, let's hurry. Grandpa should be playing chess with the second offering right now." "All right, sister," Yeshi replied and quickened her steps. Tian Yao fell into step beside them and smiled as well. Inside the main hall of the Hall of Offerings, Qian Daoliu sat opposite the second offering, a game of chess between them. When Qian Renshui and Yeshi entered, both of them called warmly, "Grandpa," and made their way to him. Tian Yao greeted the figure nicknamed Golden Crocodile and hurried over. "Shuer, Xiaoxi, you've both grown," Qian Daoliu said, setting down his chess piece with a kindly smile. "And you're getting prettier too." He rose to his feet, eyes bright as he looked them over. "Shuer, how have you fared in the Heaven Do Empire all these years? And Xiaoxi, during your cultivation, did any shameless old fellows try anything? Tell Grandpa, and I'll take the angelic sacred sword and give them a lesson." He patted the seats beside him, concern plain in his voice as he tried to sound protective and indulgent. Qian Renshui settled down beside him. "I've been fine in the Heaven Do Empire, Grandpa. I haven't had much time to cultivate, so my spirit power hasn't advanced very fast. But with Xiaoxi's help, things were much easier." Yeshi and Qianrei spent the next while recounting their experiences over the past years. Qian Daoliu's smile never left his face. He nodded often and listened with evident approval. Golden Crocodile watched Tian Yao with equal delight. "When I left, I was only a spirit grandmaster, but now I'm a spirit ancestor. My cultivation hasn't been slow, right?" Tian Yao crowed, patting her chest proudly. Tian Yao, your progress has been outstanding among your peers," Golden Crocodile replied, clapping her shoulder and not sparing his praise. Tian Yao giggled and then told her own stories from the years away, while Golden Crocodile listened quietly. When everyone had finished, Qian Daoliu's and Golden Crocodile's faces were full of warmth. "Grandpa, where's my father's tombstone? I want to pay my respects," Qian Renshui asked with a faint smile. "You just returned and you've traveled a long way. Rest tonight. I'll take you there tomorrow," Qian Daoliu said, waving a hand to dissuade her. "Tomorrow, then," Qian Renshui agreed readily. As the conversation wound down, Qian Daoliu's gaze lingered on Yeshi. From the start, he had sensed a faint trace of divine qi in her, a hint of something otherworldly. It was so subtle he almost could have been mistaken, but as an envoy of the angel god, he could not be.